imagine now you've managed to get yourself in, say, £5,000 worth of debt. So you're in a bit of debt. What would you advise? Would you advise starting an emergency fund at that point? Say the debt is payable over a 5-year period. Would you build an emergency fund, or would you tackle the debt initially? What would you do?
That's a lot of people have different views on this, but my view very much so is there's a lot of psychology involved with paying off debt, because it really impacts your mental health, because you're always worrying about having this debt and how long it's going to take you to pay it back. And because I've been in debt, like I've been in a lot of debt, and I've had that thought bombarding my head many, many times during the day. So what I did, just to help with the sort of mental sort of processing of that debt, was paying off as much of that debt as I could every month. Definitely the minimum payments. If you can't pay the minimum payments of your debt, then you need to go speak to a debt charity to get some actual proper advice, because that's when debt becomes problem debt. If you can afford the minimum payments, pay that off each month. But what I also was doing was I was putting smaller amounts of money into an emergency fund as well. So I had £16,000 worth of debt that I was paying off.
Wow.
And I paid it off in 2 years. But at the same time, I built up quite a small emergency fund, because when the inevitable things happen, like your washing machine breaks or your car needs 4 new tyres, you can then dip into that bit of an emergency fund you've built up, rather than plunging yourself back into more debt. So it just gives you that sort of safety that you've got a little bit of money set aside, and then you just get into the routine of, okay, an emergency has happened and I've got some savings there to pay it off, rather than just throwing everything into paying off your debt. And it doesn't have to be much that you're saving to the side, like maybe it's £1,000 or maybe it's £500, but it's just enough to give you that sort of peace of mind that you've got a little bit of money set aside to cover the emergency. So